You know, I went and bought it like the day after it came out. Guys, Ariana's seventh album came out, Eternal Sunshine. As a whole, I feel like this album for me is literally like a 4.9 out of 5. Like I think it'd be really hard for anything to be a 5. If anything were to ever get a 5, it would be this album. So, if your impression when Yes and came out was, girl, what the fuck? I like the song, but it's not my favorite. When it came out, I was really surprised. Did not think we would go like full dance pop. Like I was imagining this album to be like Dua Lipa almost, like just full of like dance tracks. That's not what the album is like. So if you didn't like Yes and, yeah, that's fine. You'll like the rest of the album. She gives us back into this positions R&B feel. Like we get that back here in this album. Some of the tracks do feel like they are mixed a little bit with the dance pop, which is like a really like in a really good way. So it does feel like there's been growth since Positions, like, but she didn't lose that core of like what I love about her music at all. Like it's all there. She just sounds so different on this album. Like there's a lot less belting and whistles, and it just feels like very controlled now, and like decisions were made, and less like she's this insane singer and she can just throw in all these ad libs and accoutrements that she wants. Like that's not what it feels like now. It feels like she only goes up when like it's necessary for the song, or like the song led us that way, and she like it's so satisfying to finally hear the belt, if that makes sense, and to hear the high notes and ad libs, because now on this album they're actually very few and far between, which is kind of shocking for like it's a shocking decision, and it really makes me think about it because all of her albums before this have been like, I'm a pop queen, here's my range. This one really feels like a story, and it kind of removes the old Ari from it in a way. Like, yeah, they're still there. There's still belts and there's still beautiful high notes. But it doesn't feel as much like a performance. It feels like it's more intimate. It really completes that storytelling for me, and just I feel so in it with her, and like it also makes it more singable, which is so nice. I've never seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but I do, based on the music video, love how she used that concept to portray her story. It's heartbreaking. It's sad. It's also like, yeah, we have all this sad music and all these sad times and concepts, but we're here to like booty pop through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're here to dance. So as a whole, I think I kind of have to not think about the fact that this is about Dalton and Ethan, because I thought Dalton was fantastic. And then before we got all the tea, we see her break up with Dalton and date Ethan. And all of us are like, Dalton and SpongeBob. I don't know, girl. Like, what you doing? In terms of all the back and forth on whether, you know, who cheated on who, if there was overlap in any relationships, like we just have to accept, like, you know, it's not our business on one hand. Ariana's truth is her truth. Like, we are receiving her truth right now, regardless of all the rumors. Now that we've heard the whole story. Oh, oh, okay. So it's like that. Okay, okay. Yeah. Like, partially while I listen, um, I can think about it, but in like when it comes to like Supernatural and The Boy Is Mine, girl, I can't think about those songs in terms of Ethan. I can't do it. We'll start obviously at the beginning with End of the World. End of the World, I feel like it's good. It's a good intro. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The main reason it's there, I think, is because she talks about how do I know if I'm in the right relationship, which is then said to be answered by Nona's voice note in the end of Ordinary Things. So that makes the album feel very full circle, very like it starts at a point in time where she is not sure, and this album is kind of answering that question, or it's like her journey to the answer of that question, which I think is really cool. But then we go into Bye. Girl, the way Bye started playing, and immediately, if that doesn't explain that for you, I don't really know what else to say. But I hope that was your experience as well. So this is kind of her anthem for like, I watched the Zach Sang interview and the Zane Lowe interview. She talks about like, she doesn't want this to be like an FU. She wants this to be like, I'm choosing myself. It's time for me to go. Acknowledging the positive, even though it's a negative situation. The whole thing is like, this is a good thing that this is happening. Like, it doesn't feel good in the moment, but like overall, this is for the best. And it's a freaking awesome track. Booty Poppin', Max did it again. Credit where credit is due. Name a more dynamic duo than Max and Ilya. That's what I thought. Now, we are in the beginning of the part of this album where it starts to feel like it has some K-pop influence. I think a good explanation for parts of this album is that it's sad concepts and like heartbreak, but it's a fun dancey track, just like Bye, like we talked about with Bye. But I feel like that's a big theme in K-pop is like K-pop, even if you're not understanding the words, as in like, you know, someone who doesn't speak or understand Korean, um, it's a lot of like feel good songs. And it's like they make you want to get up and dance and kind of just not think about other things. But Don't Want to Break Up Again reminds me a lot of K-pop music. This is also the song where Ariana refers to her marriage as a situationship. The way that I'm seeing it is like Bye is kind of the first step of her leaving, but she wasn't completely gone. And Don't Want to Break Up Again is like maybe there was like some attempts at reconciliation. Maybe they weren't completely like, you know, off. Maybe there was like a little bit of on and like trying, but the way it starts, like I fall asleep crying and you turn up the TV, you don't want to hear me. Like I'm taking care of myself. Like I feel like you're getting like a totally different side of what we thought this marriage was like. Um, it's kind of like me as a fan who loved Dalton previously is like it's opening my eyes. It's honest and like I'm on one hand I feel like she probably feels like she has to share this. Like not only is she just writing this for her own like, you know, recovery and getting her emotions out, but like I am seeing a whole new side of it. So Don't Want to Break Up Again feels like maybe she's saying there was effort. We tried to get it back and we couldn't. Like Bye and Don't Want to Break Up Again are kind of like, you know. Saturn Returns interlude. I did love to hear this kind of going through the album because it feels like this interlude is placed in this order and for a very specific reason. Like maybe at this point during this whole thing, the past year had been her Saturn Returns. And I think we can kind of see that from old Ariana to like current Ariana. Her growth and her transformation, I want to say, even she just feels so calm and mature and like she just feels like very grown to me now. And I love to see it. Like if you haven't seen what she looks like in her interview with Zane Lowe, go check right now. She's gorgeous. But yeah, now I kind of skip Saturn Returns now, but I do like that it's in the order for like the whole listen because you kind of seeing like, okay, this is the area in time in the album, like when she has kind of gone through this regrowth and it's hitting and it's just changing her. And we love to see that. Eternal Sunshine. This track is beautiful. It's based off of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. At first, when I heard Eternal Sunshine, I was confused because I thought Eternal Sunshine was like a good thing. It's like this feels like the transition between her old relationship and her new relationship. Like she is not completely separated from it in terms of like she's still seeing kind of what he's doing and like she knows that he has someone new, but now she has someone new and she's saying this new person is so much better for me and you're my eternal sunshine. And when I first heard that, I was like, but you're talking about the new person being good, but like he's the eternal sunshine. But he's the one that she wants to wipe her mind of. She wants to forget everything about him and just stay with the new person, which I think is very relatable. But also just like so beautiful that she found that inspiration like through the movie and turned it into this amazing track. It's so gorgeous. It also has that line where I think we all were like, just great writing. I love it. So Supernatural is one of my top songs on the whole album. I love that that song was written for me. That song majorly feels like it has K-pop vibes. It feels like this song could be sang by a group of people and like it just feels so like happy and dancey and I love it. And I can't think about who it's about because I can't do that. I can't, okay? I can't accept it. So instead, I'm just going to separate the person and the people involved from the song and I'm just going to listen to the song and I'm just going to love the song for what it is because it's a bop. Like and that's all I need to say about it, I think. I think I've covered everything on that. Next is True Story, and The Boy Is Mine, and Ariana in the Zane Lowe interview said those kind of go hand in hand. So True Story is about kind of like the way that her truth gets kind of spun by the media. It's not really what's coming from her. It's like her side of the story is like never what gets, you know, to the fans and through the press and everything. And it also kind of pulls from that like fantasized vibe from the leak. And she touches on that and says like she took notes on like what we all love from Fantasize and kind of put it into this. This song sets up The Boy Is Mine. True story is about like how, you know, she didn't really control the narrative with like her divorce and her new relationship and everything. It just kind of all came out and like we were all really confused and like shocked by it. But The Boy Is Mine is then kind of like, in True Story, she says, I'll be the bad girl if you want me to, like if it makes you feel better. The Boy Is Mine, she's like, okay, here's what it's like when I am that bad girl. And then Yes and we can skip Yes and because I have a whole video on my reaction to that. But my thoughts on Yes and now are kind of like, this is, I kind of feel like it doesn't really belong on the album sonically. Like message wise, yeah, it does because it comes right after The Boy Is Mine, True Story that we just talked about. And it's like, think what you want. I don't really care. I'm only going to speak on stuff that I feel like deserves my breath and my words. So I do think like lyrically and message wise it fits in this album. But again, like I said earlier, like yes, and if you didn't like it when it came out, it's not a good representation of what the album sounds like. Only a couple of them feel like this dancey type of thing. But this is the most dance and the most like away from R&B. Ariana said with Zach Sang that she felt like this isn't like the strongest single she could have put out, but it's like the one that she had to put out to prelude this album. Yeah, I kind of wish it was a different song that had been a single because I was expecting something totally different from this whole album. We Can't Be Friends is very much growing on me. I love that song. The video changed my life. The video totally changed my perception of that song. I thought when we got the track titles that it was going to be like a slow ballad, kind of like I Wish I Hated You. I was expecting that for We Can't Be Friends. And I was like, I had that in my mind, which I think kind of ruined my first impression of it because after I got past that and heard it, it started growing on me. And then the video came out and made me bawl my eyes out. And I watched it at work, which was my first mistake, but God, it's good. It's such a good like encompassment of the entire album concept, but just with this song. And like if I was thinking of a song she would choose for this video, since it's so encompassing of the whole thing, I would have thought she would have done Eternal Sunshine, not We Can't Be Friends. Like I was a little bit surprised like We Can't Be Friends was the next single and kind of the representation for this album concept video, but it works so well. Like We Can't Be Friends is such a great sad song, but disguised by this pop beat that's just like pulsing and like moving you forward. It feels like no matter what she's talking about, it's just like we're moving, we're still going. And the video just, I can't tell you, wrecked me. It absolutely wrecked me for the whole day of Friday when I watched it. I was out for the count. Like nothing could save me from that. Also her acting in the We Can't Be Friends video when she's clutching the necklace, like don't take this one from me, which by the way, I tried to look into it and it sounds like that represents her memories of Mac Miller. I can't even go there. He just shows up in everything. The crickets that show up in positions, I believe just like magic. Take my pen and write some love letters up to heaven. Like, he's a running theme. Like, I can't. So when that acting and just the way it just like throws you back at her and like the present of the video where she's in the chair with like the little device and she's just like, please not this one. That really says a lot to me, I feel like, too, because it's like I want to erase my bad memories, but this is not a bad memory. Like I need to keep this one, even if it is a little bit bad, like that one needs to not be changed at all in her mind. Then the transition from We Can't Be Friends into I Wish I Hated You and the fact that those are back to back. We Can't Be Friends and having the video attached to it and kind of adding that extra element of like, I need to erase you from my memory because it's too painful and like it's too much and everything. But then we hit this point where she's like, it wasn't all bad and I'm hitting a part in my grief and my, you know, transition out of this relationship and into my new one where like, unfortunately, I don't hate you and it'd be easier that way. But the way her voice breaks on that last chorus, I wish I hated you. Oh my God, I can't. But yeah, I wish I hated you. That one is really growing on me. It makes me so sad. That's the one that had me like this. And I loved every second of it, to be honest. No regrets. Imperfect for You feels a lot like POV to me. It feels that way. It's like not totally the same thing. How do I say this? Like POV is like one of my favorites on Positions, by the way. I see my flaws, but you don't. I want to see me the way you see me because you see me as like so great and perfect and like ideal, but I don't see myself that way. But Imperfect for You is like, here's how I see myself, but like, that's fine. Like, I accept all of that. It's almost like the is in like parentheses, like imperfect, but perfect for you. And it gives us that, like, that whole vibe that I think is really on Thank You Next and Positions. That's like, I've been through a lot of crap and like, I'm not perfect and I did a lot of healing. Like, it gives us that side again where she's like, usually I'm fricked up and anxious and I'm just too much for people and I'm messy, and like usually that it turns into like, I'm working on it, here's all I am, but this one is like, here's all I am, and that's great, that's perfect for who you want, and something about us is like perfect for each other. And I think that's like kind of a really cool transition for her to like change that idea from that's not great to like, yeah, that's perfect, that's great, that's fine as you are, like you are great as you are. Ordinary Things too, I feel like, since we're talking about answering that question that the album gives, like, how do I know if I'm in the right relationship? I think as a song, it doesn't really answer, like, am I in that one relationship that I'll be in forever? Like, no. But does it answer, like, am I in the right relationship? I think so. And then the voice note at the end that Nona's saying, like, if you can't get over your fight and, like, your disagreements or, like, any anger you have towards that person, if you can't go to bed with them that night and kiss goodnight and, like, sleep next to them comfortably, like, that's not for you. I think that's like not only a great piece of advice, but it's so cute that it's like another Nona voice note, and this one we get credit for, we get artist credits for Nona on it, which is really cute. Nona answered her entire album's question, which is so pure, and like, I mean, we all know her relationship and with her and everything, like, it's just, it's amazing to hear. I want to say my top tracks are Supernatural by Eternal Sunshine, Don't Want to Break Up Again. It's so hard to order these. Like, every day it changes. I've listened to this album probably 15 times, and I like the little, order is just like two of them will switch down here, and like at the bottom two will switch, and like one will jump up, and so hard to say. Supernatural is pretty much always at the top. I freaking love that song. By a Second. Then after that, it gets a little bit like they're fighting for third and fourth between Don't Want to Break Up Again and Eternal Sunshine. And also just all of the album variants, like, God, she looks so good. I love this like red vibe, just like a touch of red, like a splash of classy red. All the album arts are gorgeous, but the album cover, I love how it looks like she's leaning on herself, like a gorgeous message to put forth, like, I got my own back, basically. Again, this album for me is like the closest to a 5 you can possibly get. It's just not a perfect album with no skips, and I think that would be a 5 for me. But could not recommend this album more. I knew this was going to be a pivotal time for me, and it was either going to be like the time where I realized that I'm finally not as obsessed with Ariana as I used to be, which would have been a very sad moment to think about. Like, she just is not, she just doesn't do it as much for me because I've changed. It's not anything that she would have done wrong, but it just would have made me realize like she's moving in a direction that I'm not totally following, but still love her to death. Or it was going to be the revival, the second coming of my complete obsession with her. Like, she is my god, and like nothing can change that. And it's more towards that one for sure. Like, I'm so back in it with her. Like, I love her so much. Yeah, go listen to Eternal Sunshine. Go do it. You won't regret it.